That's a cracking YouTube job right here. We're here with Noah. Let's hear everyone. So you made it all the way to top 8 playing your Sky Striker True Draco deck.
Yep, it's my first ever Premier event top.
Oh, well, congratulations. Yep. That's awesome. Oh, what do you think about your round?
Swiss went by pretty easy. I played against 8 different decks in Swiss, actually. And then top 32 was a really big grind. It got down close to time.
Yeah.
Was able to pull it out. Top 16 was relatively easy. I played against Sky Striker, and then lost in top 8 to the champion of YCS Guadalajara, Ramiro. So,
what was your record?
In Swiss, I finished 9-2, and then won 2 rounds in top cut, lost in top 8.
Cool. All right, do you want to get into the deck profile first, or you want to do shout-outs first?
We'll do the deck profile first.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So starting off with the monsters, I played 1 Blue Boy. So this is the primary normal summon of the deck. It searches for secrets or knowledge, and it kind of gets the engine rolling. It's a really good starter. And then I played only 2 copies of Ray, because in this deck you're usually devoting your normal summon to the Blue Boy or the Draco monsters, and you're primarily accessing Ray using the Area 0 targeting Draco spell, and then the Draco spell pops the Area 0, you summon Ray from deck. So you don't really want to draw it, but you want to have one exist in your deck at all times. And then I played 2 copies of Ignis and 1 Dynamite. So a lot in the past I've been playing 3 Ignis and 1 Dynamite, but I decided to cut it to 2 for this event because I added in another Shark Cannon. You just don't want to see hands with too many monsters that get cloggy. You just want to see more spell cards. And these are primarily used for tribute summoning on your opponent's turn as like a disruption, or going second to help break boards. So, because he's a fire for hit up, it's pretty cool. And then the only hand trap in the main deck is 3 Nibiru's. So I chose to play this, even though most Lunalight players go for the Nyarla Azathoth combo, because it's the best versus Salad and any random rogue decks. And if I'm going to draw any one hand trap to hopefully let me survive, I'd want it to be this one, either going first or second. So there's actually some cool plays. If you have a Ray on board and this in hand, you can activate Ray's effect as Chainlink 1, provided it's in your opponent's main phase. And then you can activate Nibiru as Chainlink 2. So then Nibiru resolves tributing everything, and then Ray resolves summoning a Link monster. So it's kind of a way to make sure you still have board presence for next turn. So yes, that's it for the monsters. I think 9 monsters. And then spells, these are pretty self-explanatory. 3 Engage, 3 Widows. This is basically like the Monarch Stormforth. You can just take their monsters and tribute over them. It's pretty cool. And then I played 3 Area 0 because since I only played 2 Ray, I wanted to have more ways to access her from the deck. And it's just more spells in the deck. And if it makes set rotation really, really live, just having this card exist in your deck. So then I played 2 Shark Cannons. That's it. This is it for the 3 of. So 2 Shark Cannons. Like I said, I cut 1 Ignis for the second Shark. I still sided it out kind of a lot, but it was nice for game 1. And then 1 multi-roll, 1 drones. That's it. I don't play the removal cards because the Draco spells and traps, that's their primary function, is to tribute over your Apocalypse, or use the field spell or multi-roll to send away your heritages or your return, and then that's how you kind of break boards. So speaking of, we have 2 Disciples and 3 Heritage. So the reason behind 3-2 ratio is this is the one you want to see more often because it's the most easiest to make live. You can use the field spell, target this or any trap, and then this is going to be just a free upstart. And then obviously they give you tribute summons going second, so you have more plays to play through back row and clear boards. And then the reason why you play 2 instead of 1 is because if you manage your resources correctly, and I don't play Desires, so there's never a risk of banishing one, you can always use 1 to put back the other, and then you can essentially grind forever. Yeah, so that's that. And then 3 Diagram, of course, one of the best cards in the deck. You can chain your quick plays to this for free pluses. So yeah, this card's really, really nice. And then 1 ofs, Terraforming, Set Rotation, Upstart. This card's particularly insane when you draw it, just because you give them Area 0, you give yourself Diagram. So then you go Diagram, pop a spell, search like a Heritage, for example, and then the spell's effect pops the Area 0 on their side of the board, and then it triggers Engrave to summon Ray. So in that interaction, you've gone +2. It's really nice. So then more spells, because you can never have enough, is 2 Secrets and 1 Knowledge. So the reason behind 2 of this is because you primarily want to see this first. You want to use this to search the Blue Boy normal summon, search this use on the Blue Boy, draw 2. And then the second one, you can just pop it with a diagram or send it with multi-roll if you happen to draw multiples. So yeah, this just like gets you out of the turn 1 where it can kind of get stagnant. So that's it for the spells. And then 4 traps. This card actually is not very good. The only reason I play it is for the name, so I can pop 2 monsters potentially. But I would probably play like 4 or 5 of this if I could. This card's like really, really good. Against Sky Strikers, if you set up with this plus a Heritage or a Disciples, you can use this to pop the Heritage or Disciples on their turn and then pop multi-roll. So just puts them pretty far behind. So that's it for the main deck, 40 cards plus Upstart.
Would there be any changes you'd make to the main deck? Or let's say that, you played it a bit before the ban list.
So the Nibiru is really the only thing. I think that would just change by format. If Salamangreat becomes the best deck after this ban list, then the Nibiru is definitely staying in the main, because that card is just such a big blowout against that deck.
Sure.
But yeah, as far as the actual engine cards, I don't think there's anything I'd change. So it worked out really well. So we'll do the extra first. So the extra, I played 1 Kagari, 2 Kainas. In retrospect, I would change this to, I actually changed this to include a second Hida, because believe it or not, the second Hida came up a couple times today, and the second Kaina basically never came up. But you definitely have to play 1, just, yeah, not getting OTK'd is really nice. And then 2 Hayates. You don't need 3 because in this deck you use the Draco cards to bait out interactions going second, so the first one usually resolves. And the game just doesn't really last that long to where you would need 3. And then 3 Shizuku. This one you don't really need 3, but there's kind of a lot of free space in this extra deck. And again, Sky Striker matchup, you just want to be able to grind for as long as possible. Because I don't play Hercules base either, so once my Kagari's gone, she's gone. And then 1 Clara and Rushka. So this card, I summon this almost every match. This is how you avoid the contradiction of having a Draco monster and having a Sky Striker card. So essentially you summon the Draco, break their board, and then in main phase 2, you link summon the Draco into this, and then your main monster zone is clear to play all your Sky Striker cards. In addition, it's also a spellcaster, so if you have a dead Knowledge, you can use Knowledge on this. So basically Knowledge is always live.
Secret Village can come up too.
Yeah. And then, luckily I didn't play against any of that, but I think Altergeist is a relatively easy matchup for this deck. I played 1 Barricade Board Blocker. I summoned this card 3 times, but I actually only used the effect once in top 32 to add back a Heritage. It was pretty nice. But it's just a generic link too that points down for when you just need a link climb into the bigger link monsters. And its effect is pretty good. There's a lot of targets in this deck. Then I played Hida. Like I said earlier, I wish I played 2. You make this card a lot, and if it dies, it searches Ignis. So it kind of like leads into making the second one. So yeah, this card's really, really good. And then Phoenix. It's kind of similar to Barricade Board Blocker. It's another generic link 2 for when you just need to like link away your opponent's monsters that you stole or something like that. It's also a fire for Hida. But yeah, it could really be anything. I never use the effect. And then the 3 big link monsters is Ningirsu, Bomber, and Broilsword. So this card's amazing in this deck because you can send your Draco spell and traps, and you essentially get to 2 for 1 by sending one of their cards, sending one of your Draco spell and traps, then you get to pop another card. So maybe in the future I'd almost consider playing 2 of this, because usually when you use Hida, you summon back their Phoenix, their Almirage, their Kagari, and then you go into this. So, and then these 2, I don't think you really need to explain Broilsword. It's how you kill them. You just summon Broilsword, have a Draco monster, and that's game. And then Bomber, it's good against combo decks to end on with Shark Cannon and Hornet Drones. You essentially get like 2 Regekis on their turn. So yeah, that's it for the extra deck, all blue cards. And then the side deck, I sided 2 Crow, 2 Ogre, 3 Gnome, 2 Impermanents. So I sided in a bunch of hand traps. This is all to counter the Lunalight Orcus deck. Would have been nice to draw some of them in top 8, but unfortunately not. So this is all just to make sure that I don't get hit with Imperial Order or Eradicator and they just make the full board. So I think that Impermanence and Gnome are by far the best. The only reason I played 2 is because I only wanted to side 9 cards. Like I only had 9 cards I wanted to take out of my main deck. And the only one that was like so impactful that it was worth playing 3 of was the Gnome. The rest were just kind of average. This one's pretty good, but these aren't really enough to secure the game by themselves like these can be. So yeah, that's the reason behind those. And then I played 3 different Dimension Ground. I feel like every person who plays Sky Strikers should play this card. So if you notice, there was no floodgates in the main deck or in the side. This is like kind of a floodgate. But I didn't want to lose to like Twin Twister, Cosmic Cyclone, MST. Basically everyone has those cards between their main and side deck, and this is one of the only ways to play around it. So I would usually wait for them to like summon 1 or 2 monsters before flipping this. That way my Widow Anchors on their turn can be used to make Roll Sword and OTK them. So yeah, this card's amazing. And then going first cards, 2 Shared Rides and Eagle Booster. This is what I would side against Pure Striker, just because the Nibirs are, of course, not very good. So I just wanted 3 cards I could put in. Going first or second, these cards are really good versus the Striker Mirror match. And then this is good in game 3 to kind of ensure your Hayate or Kaina resolves. So yeah, that's it.
All right, do you have any shout-outs?
Yeah, lots of shout-outs. So
right, let's get it.
Shout out to Shogun's Dojo, the Arizona Facebook group.
Yep.
Shout out to Team Jobber, of course. I think we had 4 people in Top Cut, so represented well.
Yes.
Shout out to you, Simo, Bortle, and Jesse behind the cameras. And shout out to Johnny for topping 2 events with our deck. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It kind of is unfortunate that he got to top with it before me, because I've been playing this deck for like a long time and just been like losing on the bubble or like losing last round day 1. So it's like it's nice to finally get there.
And you made it all the way to top 8. Very impressively.
But yeah, that's basically it. Thanks.
Congratulations. Jobber here. Simo.
Portal, signing out.